Today on American Forked.
American Forked Police Department is being sued for... Let's throw it out there. Let's talk about the war. Let's talk about Trump. Let's talk about whatever quote-unquote controversial thing there is.
Burn pits. It reminds me of Christmas morning.
We're kind of like, we've put all these sanctions on Russia, patting ourselves on the back. We've won.
Stacy's like, all of a sudden, every woman in the world is like, has a huge crush on Zelensky.
Gang activity at my school, a lot of drug trade, and I saw drug deals myself.
Welcome to the American Fork Podcast. We're a group of friends who've grown up in pretty similar situations. I'd say so. But we've grown up to be different people, and now we're still friends. Somehow, some way. Somewhere. And even though we think each other is stupid. Does that sound right?
Thank you.
Am I stupid?
Yes.
Are you stupid?
No.
Let's be stupid together. All right, so today we have Phil's here. Phil is cosplaying Luigi today.
What's up? I'm Phil. I'm Luigi.
You even have a green shirt. Do you do that on purpose or
Nope.
no?
St. Patrick's Day is coming up.
Is that what it is?
Are you? You're not sure. Are you practicing for St. Patrick's Day? Okay, Jake's here as
Hey guys,
well.
I'm also here.
Hi, Jake.
I am me, and I'm here.
You're looking dapper today because you have an appointment later.
I do. Someone died.
Oh,
Wow.
can it be more chipper than that? Maybe?
Yeah, can you make
I have a
something
funeral.
up?
I have a funeral up in northern Utah that I will be attending today.
Can you make something up that's a little happier than that? Like an interview
I
or...
was happy until you said that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really?
job interview.
Okay, cool.
New job.
I hope it goes well.
At a funeral home.
And then our guest today, our special guest, which does not mean handicapped, just special as in awesome, is Koen. Hi, Koen.
Hello, hello.
We will be getting to Koen's stories in a little bit. Sound good? Mm-hmm. Jacob.
Welcome, Koen.
Yes. Give me some housekeeping. What the hell's going on?
What's going on? What is this thing that we're doing?
I don't know.
Well, so as always, you can visit our website at AmericanForked.com, and you can go there, and we have a page for all of our favorite episodes. If you're wondering, you want to get some good laughs, and you want to hear some of our best material, you can go to our website, AmericanForked.com, and if you have not already, subscribe to our podcast on any of the podcatchers. And
a podcatcher is like a thing you listen to podcasts on.
yeah.
Like what? Pocket Cast, Spotify,
Stitcher,
iTunes,
or Apple Podcasts, in other words, Google Podcasts.
It's going to be Apple.
iHeartRadio.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But whatever you listen to podcasts on, find us. If you're listening to us in some other way somehow.
Yeah.
We also have a voicemail line that you can call and leave us a voicemail. You don't have to talk to a person, but if you want to, then that would be we can arrange that. But call 385-DAD-0-MUG is our voicemail line. You can also send a text message to that line as well. We have a Patreon account, patreon.com/AmericanForked, where you can donate some money to help us build the studio and make the podcast happen, because podcasts are not free for the podcast producers.
I never said it would be free, but I did say it would be worth it.
Yeah,
That's the quote.
that's the quote.
Okay.
Joe Rogan.
Joe
He was a guest on our podcast.
Nice. All right, so we're going to go into some news, and we always start with micro news, right? From the dear old town of American Fork. But I'm going to do something a little different this week. The news portion is going to be choose your own adventure. So you guys are just going to vote on like which story you want to hear based off of the title that I just made up. Okay?
Okay.
You okay with that?
Yeah.
Don't sound excited. All right, sounds good. So,
Okay, we won't.
all right, the first one for micro news is it might be okay that they beat the crap out of him because he turned out to be a druggie. The second one says, how do you remove crashed helicopters? With a helicopter. And what do dogs in this car have in common? They can both roll over. What do you want to hear, Jake?
You had me at drugs.
The drug one? Okay, Koen's on drugs.
That's the one I was.
Wait, that didn't come out right. You're on team drugs. Wait, that doesn't sound right either.
Yeah, that's what I was.
The drugs one?
Yeah.
All right, then it doesn't matter what Phil says.
Fine.
Which one did you want to hear?
I don't care.
I know you don't. All right, so it might be okay they beat the crap out of him because it turned out he's a druggie. American Fork Police Department is being sued for...
American Fork Police
What did I say? American Forked?
Yeah.
Do we not
We have our own police.
We don't have our own police department yet? Oh, we need to work on that.
We're gonna change the way people speak.
Well, at least me,
Yeah.
apparently.
It's okay. Keep going. Sorry, I derailed you.
I actually love it because I didn't even realize I said that.
American Fork Police Department.
We need to get Charlie out here. He'll be our chief.
Yeah.
Okay. So the American Fork Police Department.
There you go. There you go. You gotta pause after.
The funniest part about that is that when we first started the podcast, I always call it the American Fork Podcast, which it's not. It's American Forked, whatever. All right. So basically, if you guys haven't seen this video, look it up. American Fork Police Department brutality lawsuit or something like that, because this man was being detained from the police department, and he was on his knees with his hands in the air. There's several cops around him, and all of a sudden from the back, like freaking NFL linebacker, I don't know football positions, but this police officer just tackles him. He's on his knees, tackles the crap out of this guy. And
What was the guy doing? He was a druggie?
well, they ended up finding drugs on him.
Oh.
But the reason the cops actually were called there is because it's some domestic thing, like his wife called the cops because he was there and he was with his... Anyway, he wasn't supposed to be
Protective
around her.
order.
Yeah, something like that. So
Was there a chase or something, or did they just find
no,
him?
they just found him in the parking lot and...
Tackled him full
Well,
on.
no, they like told him to stop, get down, whatever.
Oh.
And he was cooperating, it seems. You can check the video out. Do Google it. But he was cooperating pretty well, and then all of a sudden, freaking out of left field, this
He gets
cop just
tackled?
boom. Like, anyway, I wish I knew some more football analogies, but I don't. I could say lots of things that would be stupid.
Hopefully there's some more history there, like he's been threatening his ex-wife or something, and she freaked out and called, and like, he's here, I think he's gonna kill me, and that's why they tackled him.
But what I'm saying is he was on his knees with his hands up, ready to like cooperate. They could have approached, cuffed him, whatever, but they tackled him. And then from there, it did get a little crazy because he got tackled. He went into defense mode, I guess, and just like, and you're right, maybe there's a history of violence with this guy.
And you never know. Like, maybe she's on with 911 and they can hear him in the background. I'm going to shoot you. I've got 2 guns. And even if I act like I'm submitting, I'll suddenly leap up and shoot you.
Because that's likely.
And
But
maybe
you're
that,
right.
and
It
that's
is-
why they tackled
I
him.
understand.
I'm just trying to give the cops the benefit
was
of
it
the
a
doubt.
body cam footage, or was
They
it?
did have body cam.
You know what?
body cam footage.
I was thinking maybe not doing this, but here it goes. I'm going to show you the video.
Oh, okay. Jeff hates to show videos on a...
Podcast, for some reason, it just doesn't fully get the point across. So I think, let me...
All listeners, close your eyes and imagine what this looks like.
Okay, I'm going to describe it for you, listener. We've got
There's no audio.
a dark vehicle with a sunlit background
Looks like a
gleaming
video
through
game.
the window. A computer laptop leans to the right in a locked fashion,
Are you
typical of police brutality. Police officer exits his vehicle, frantically runs across the parking lot. Shaky cam, boom!
You leveled him.
And he was on his knees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't see that. All I saw was shaky cam.
Well, there's like 24 minutes of video here. And there is cell phone footage from around. Anyway, it's an interesting...
There were already other officers there around him,
He was surrounded by other officers.
Here's the.
and he got out.
And then Superman freaking showed up.
Runs
And
This is from another cop's body cam here.
Okay.
show us so we can see it.
See him.
What in the world?
Like, that's
So-
what I'm saying. I'm actually somewhat in agreement with this one.
So this cop is
Oh,
talking
okay.
to him.
Get
He's
down,
like,
buddy. Get down.
Give me your bag of.
Okay, puts his hands up. He gets down on his
on his
knees.
knees.
And then the
other one-
cop...
Watch this other one.
I mean, he's on his knees now, and boom!
Whoa!
Unnecessary.
That's an NFL highlight reel right there.
Yeah, that's,
I mean, he's got 4 cops around him with his hands up. Why was there a
Yeah.
tackle?
blindsided by the.
Then they ended up
Unnecess-
tasing him because he's fighting back now.
See, I could see though the way everything was going down while that cop was still in his car pulling up. Maybe the radio was going. He's not cooperating, and so that cop just made the decision.
Yeah,
I gotta
let's
get
end
this
this.
guy.
Yeah.
So even though he shows up, his adrenaline's probably
Right.
through the
It's
roof.
called. Yeah, and he could have been like chasing him.
Yeah.
Or something for the last hour, and he's just like.
Yeah, we don't know, but it looks pretty bad.
Well, if I learned anything from the documentary Reno 911, there's certain perps that you just know from past experiences
Right.
and you know how to deal with them.
I gotta take this guy down.
In this
Yeah.
case, it's called unnecessary roughness.
Yeah, exactly. And offsides.
Or unsportsmanlike conduct.
That's probably what it was.
That's your football analogy
Okay,
that we're
thank
talking
you.
about.
So this wasn't this isn't viral or anything. This is just something you found.
Well, it happened quite a while ago. It's just now gone to suit. So
Oh, it's in the lawsuit.
So there's a
form.
lawsuit on it.
yeah, there's a lawsuit on it. So that's where the
That's why
story's
the
at
body
now.
cam footage is now out there because
I guess so.
there's
Yeah.
a lawsuit involved.
I mean, to sum it up, the way I feel about it is, it might be okay that they beat the crap out of him. He did turn out to be a druggie. So, because they did find drugs on him after that.
But what
had-
kind of drugs? That's
In his
important.
system or
we
on
talking
his
Flintstone
person?
gummies? Like,
No, that's true.
Vitamin C,
I
adult.
think it was the white powdery stuff.
Or did he just have like a Diet Coke on him?
No,
Get it?
but nope, I don't get it.
Because caffeine is a drug.
Coca-Cola
That's
has
true.
cocaine in it.
I mean, it did.
He had a triple shot latte.
Had a triple shot latte. Yeah, that's it looks pretty bad for that officer. He's probably getting fired.
He probably tripped.
Oh, fired? I mean,
He was running at him and tripped and ended up tackling him.
Oh, that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what?
it depends on his history. I think he's probably going to get like paid leave.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's probably. Yeah.
I just don't get the. Yeah, as you're running up, it seemed like the situation was.
Under
Under
control.
control.
Yeah.
But
Jake's just laughing.
poor guy.
It seemed that way.
And
but-
again, as you know, I feel for police officers because you're not in that situation. You don't have your adrenaline going, and obviously they make mistakes, but it'd be interesting to see what was leading up to that. What's he hearing on the radio, all that stuff. But even so, it's probably going to be bad for him. I don't know.
Yeah, and just so Koen knows, and the listener, and to remind the listener that Phil's dad was a police officer for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
He knew him growing up and everything, and so that's why he has a little insight into it. I think it's okay because he was a druggie.
As long as they do drugs, you can
You can just
anything
basically
to
do
them.
anything.
Yeah,
It's free range.
yeah.
And then they can sue you years later.
Yeah, hopefully if they clean up, they can
Right.
sue you. Yeah. Okay, on to Utah news. Ready? Choose your own adventure. I'm going to let Phil vote first because he didn't take part last time.
The second one.
Oh. Okay, so, well, that's interesting. You chose that one. Good. So, the first one is, if you talk about things that are uncomfortable, I just don't think you're a real teacher. Second story is, if you smoke those guys, we're not going to drink your stuff. And the third one is, you wake me up and I'll run you over. Those are 3 Utah stories.
I actually like the first one.
You like the first one?
Yeah, that sounds intriguing.
Okay, Koen.
Third one.
Third one, if you wake me up, I'll run you over. Okay, Jake?
The second one.
No, come on. You can't put me in this position.
Just pick one, Joe.
Then
okay.
the
the
teacher
decider.
one. It was the next one.
Okay, so we're going to go number 1.
Nice.
If you talk about things that are uncomfortable, I just don't think you're a real teacher. Because these other 2 things we will be talking about anyway, so. All right, so Utah lawmaker wants a teacher license to be reviewed if they talk about controversial subjects.
Ooh.
Which is interesting, huh?
Utah
But what defines
lawmaker?
controversial subjects?
I know, yeah, exactly. I'm going to come out and say, first of all, that this law that was proposed died in committee. It never even came out for a vote or anything. It died right away. Because I think it's a stupid law. But the reason I brought this up is because it is an interesting discussion. Exactly the first thing you said, which is what determines if it's uncomfortable
Yeah.
or controversial or not okay.
Well, what did they say? Why did they
I
bring
didn't
it up?
read the story.
Oh. my guess is because of like transgender topics that are being brought up. That seems to be the most.
Did you want me to do some investigative journalism here?
I mean, when I
Or
was
just read the story?
when I was in New York in my high school, I mean, if anybody talked about anything Republican in any of the classrooms, then usually it was shot down by the teacher because everyone was a Democrat.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, but what defines controversial after that?
Right. Like, and I guess it kind of really hits true into like our own, the podcast here is like, why can't we just talk about it? Why does it have to turn into like a teacher gets reviewed because they talked about global warming and these people don't think that it's real or something like that? It's like,
Or
okay.
evolution is controversial. Can
I know.
they not talk about it?
Yeah. Can we
Does
not?
debate not exist anymore?
No. Yeah. I mean, I remember when we were younger, we were master debaters.
All of us.
Master debaters?
Yeah.
All of us.
Oh, wow.
I should choose my words wisely.
You should.
Anyway, what do you think? I mean, we had the teacher. There's an episode we had called From Lehigh to Afghanistan, which we did talk about this teacher in Lehigh, Utah, that I think that pushed it over the edge, but she was pushing an agenda with her teacher or students and basically saying, if you don't believe these things, you're an idiot. And if you listen to your parents, you're going to realize one day your parents are idiots.
Yeah.
And like going off. She ended up getting fired and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, who determines who the line would be?
I don't mind at all. I can understand because I've got younger kids, and I can understand to an extent certain things like that being brought up when kids are really young. Like when they're teenagers, junior high and high school, I kind of would hope and expect that the teachers do bring up and say stuff like that. I don't care. Like that Lehigh teacher that was getting all the flack, she was dumb, I thought, but I wouldn't care if my kids were in her class because my kids have other teachers that are different. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh my gosh, one of your teachers said this thing.
Welcome to the world.
Yeah, it's like,
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Good for you. You heard it from someone else's point of view.
Welcome to life. But when they're younger, I don't know. I think more controversial topics or topics that aren't even necessarily valid for like a second grader to be talking about. It makes sense to me that.
What if the topic doesn't identify as controversial, though? What then, Phil?
And again, I'm not like.
Phil's backpedaling. No, just kidding.
I wouldn't be the one that's like calling the teacher, like, you said this or whatever. I would just talk to my kid and be like, well, that's weird. But I don't know.
You bring up a good point because I think there is and this is what my opinion is, there's a line of what you learn at home and what you learn at school and what you learn at church and what you learn at work. Like there's different things that you learn at different places, for example. Like I don't think that you should learn how to spell at work. Like that's not a correct, like that's messed up, right? But you wouldn't learn how to do dishes at school, but you could learn how to do dishes at work.
Unless it's
you know
home
what I'm
ec.
saying? Like there's, what was that?
If it's home ec,
That's. Did you learn how to do dishes in home ec?
yeah, they taught you how to clean your work surface and the kitchen area. And
I think
put
I
them in
was sick
the
that day.
sink. But to your point, even in school, there's like the Lehigh teacher in our Lehigh Afghanistan episode.
Right.
If it was an ethics class,
Right.
she could have had a very, very creative debate discussion with the students.
Right.
But she was like, I think she was a history teacher, right?
Well,
Not even history. I can't remember what it was. I can't remember. But anyway, not only was her the things she was talking about completely irrelevant to her class,
Right.
she went overboard and was like, offending people.
Well, was she like a math teacher?
Yeah. Something
it
like
was,
that.
It was one of the STEM.
Because I think it's expected for like a history teacher to lay out all the facts and say this is where I stand, but
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
there's nothing wrong
at
with
all.
that. But I guess if you're a math teacher and you're like
Yeah.
starting your class talking about war,
Yeah, she's like, if you're against LGBT, you can get out of my class. And stuff
Right
like
now. See, yeah, that's the point. Like you just said, there's certain classes that it makes sense. Like if you had a debate class,
Of course.
let's throw it out there. Let's talk about the war.
No
Let's talk
part in
about
there.
Trump. Let's talk about whatever quote unquote controversial thing there is. If you're in a history class, I get it. Even if you're in an English class, I could get it. Like at least you're figuring out like how to phrase an argument or something like that. But this is a real story, and this happened 2 weeks ago. My daughters, I pick up two of my daughter's friends from school. One of them was telling me about a mock trial that they were doing, and it had to do with one girl was dating another girl, but then, and this is real people they're using it in class, okay? So one girl was was dating another girl, and then that girl cheated on her with another girl. These are all 8th graders, by the way. So first of all, they're
This is in your daughter's class?
yeah, no, not my daughter's class, my daughter's friend's class.
Oh, okay.
But she was telling me about it. And the teacher was like, well, let's have a trial. And you bring up witnesses and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And it was all kind of made up and whatever. And I'm like, what class is this in? You know what class it was?
Music.
Math.
Oh, it was math?
It was their
We're having a
math
mock
teacher.
trial in the math class.
Yep.
Oh no.
And I think the best I could gather, because this is one kid's story on it, so I don't know, I can't take that as like, that's the extent of my investigational journalism, is I heard this thing that this one kid said. But it could have been a trying to solve, like the kids were all talking about it in class and it was disrupting class. And it's like, you know what, tomorrow we'll hear all the evidence. Just go gather it up and then we'll hear it.
Yeah.
I could see that, but then at the same time, I'm like, you know what, this isn't appropriate. What he should have said is, hey, everyone, shut up. We're doing math now. This is an improper fraction, and your discussion is also improper.
See,
Just like this fraction, this discussion.
This discussion is improper.
See, you say that though, but if you were sitting in Zobel's class and he did that exact thing, wouldn't you be thinking, Zobel's so awesome?
I really would.
Yeah.
Zobel was a math teacher of ours in junior high.
All right.
Who got arrested for what, Phil? Oh, yeah.
I think it was distributing marijuana or something
Yeah.
like that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Love that in teachers.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the best qualities.
Oh yeah.
No, but he was a real funny guy. A lot of these guys had him and really loved him.
Yeah.
So I was just pointing out that maybe it was more like
No,
that.
I get it, because I learned more from math from Zobel than I learned from any other teacher the rest of my life.
Right.
For math.
So if it was like that, I'd be all for it. But if it
Right.
was like, let me inject my politics into math class, I don't hate it, but I agree math would be better. But it's really hard to get kids to pay attention to math. And so that could be why he was, I don't know.
Oh, that's like the math teacher who was using hookers in the bill that was charged to somebody for.
What?
It was in New York City. And he was put on leave because some teachers were complaining that he was using interesting subjects for adding and subtracting.
What, okay, you got a pound a kilo. Or wait,
I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding.
You got a kilo of heroin, a pound a kilo.
Some people thought it was funny. So
Right.
one student was like, I don't think this is funny. And then told the mom. Mom was probably concerned. And
Interesting. I mean,
it happens.
I have heard from, I think there was a rapper or something that was saying everything I learned from business, I learned from being a drug dealer. Like, I don't know. I guess you can obviously learn these things in different avenues, but yeah, I think giving word problems that involve pimps and hookers is probably
especially
not.
like middle schoolers. I don't,
What happened to the apple tree, and the farmer? Like, you can use the same analogies, right?
Mom, what's a pimp? Time and place. There's a time and place for discussions.
Yeah, that's something that you
What
learn.
is that time? How old does your student need to be for you to be okay with your teacher talking about pimps?
Pimps?
Yeah.
Oh, my kids are different than most kids.
5?
No.
I'd say high school.
High school?
Yeah.
See, and I'd say 7th or 8th grade for my kids.
That's what
But
I
every
was-
kid's different.
That's what I would have said, 7th or 8th grade.
But
I'd say
dude,
by high school, you kind of need to be ready because those things are going to be talked about, if not by other teachers, then by other students.
Right.
Yeah.
You'll have to be ready
Yeah.
to talk about it at least.
And I only say that because it seemed, from my memory, 7th grade was like naked locker room, slapping each other, making jokes about anatomy. Like, that was all out the window. So,
First time I saw a pornographic image in the locker room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
7th grade.
Yeah, it really was, yeah.
Yep.
I get it, but I don't know if I love it. The other thing, too, that's crazy is for the listener, Koen is a generation, I'd say, younger than us. I mean, we're young. He's younger than us for sure, and it's got to be a completely different world now. Like,
It's pretty different.
like truly, like I know it's like pornography. The only way we saw pornography is if you found a magazine in someone's dad's
That
bedroom
always
or in
makes
a
me
field.
laugh. I don't think I've ever seen a magazine because it was just never around when I
Right.
was younger.
But like nowadays, it's like every kid has more.
What's a magazine?
Yeah, what's a magazine?
There's like a big TikTok trend where in high school gyms, whenever there's a band, they do the Pornhub theme on the drums, and none of the teachers would understand, but all the students would be roaring with laughter.
It's like an audio.
It's like an audio cue that if anybody's seen it, then they know.
Like an audio. What do they call
So
it?
it's a different generation.
Audio stamp or a.
Yeah.
We were talking about it for our podcast.
The theme song.
Like
The theme song of porn.
not of all porn, but a specific porn website.
Oh, yeah.
There's a.
It looks like we're talking about porn now.
I know, here we go. But like Netflix has a dun dun.
Oh, yeah.
Sound. There's a sound that this website has, and
What is it?
It's like a.
I don't. It's a drum beat.
That's it.
Doom.
But like just that is enough to get anybody to start laughing.
Like this,
Because they know
I've
what
seen
it's from.
TikToks and stuff like that of it where they'll make that sound, and it's like the student body is just in tears over it because it's
The
hilarious.
teachers were so confused.
And they're like, "What is that?" Like, you don't open them.
There are teachers that know, though, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure of it. Yeah.
Sure, but it's usually the older ones. They're like,
Here's the woodshop teacher that's like,
Yeah, the wood shop teacher.
But those guys can't get the sound to work, so.
Yeah, it is a different generation for sure. And I can only imagine that these subjects, because of social media and all that stuff, these subjects are way at everyone's fingertips. So most people already probably have opinions about them. And so talking about them in school and class is probably more common than we were used to. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
So don't review a teacher's license because they bring up things that could potentially be controversial.
Yeah, so
unless they're pushing an agenda, and it's clear and it's obvious.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I agree with that. If they're like, there's a difference between enlightening a student to a different idea and indoctrinating a student to your
Yeah.
idea. Like intentionally trying to get the student on your side instead of exposing them to an idea.
right.
Right, your teacher's like, so communism.
Yeah.
I think we should all be communists. And then
Exactly.
you're like, what?
I'm passing out some pamphlets.
Your parents are idiots because they're not
parents are stupid.
communist.
I have this compound.
This is the Communist Manifesto.
Trumbo.
Trumbo.
Exactly.
All right, on to nationwide news, because I think we can all agree that if you talk about things that are uncomfortable, I just don't think you're a real teacher. Sounds like we're all on the exact same page. Not really. Nationwide news. Choose your own adventure. Jake goes first this time.
Okay.
Okay. Burn pits. It reminds me of Christmas morning. You question your sexuality? Well, we need the government's opinion on this. I don't care if your house burned down. You need more insulation.
Do number one because I know what it is. And it's hilarious.
Burn pits is the one that
Okay, number one. Phil's got
Yeah.
number one. Just for fun, Koen,
number
what was
one.
it? Number one,
Number
okay.
one.
I want to bring up the other one just real quickly at least, but I called this one, Burn Pits. It reminds me of Christmas morning. So Pelosi sparks memes. I can't even get through this seriously. So Pelosi sparks, and I don't even know what this is. What's SOTU?
So
SOTU?
State of the Union.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Jake. I thought it was a cool thing, but it's not.
Nope, it's as
So-
boring as you can get.
Pelosi sparked State of the Union meme during Biden's burn pits moment.
She knows what a meme is.
Well, she's one.
Okay.
She is one.
Have you seen this video?
She
Or
is.
are we the only nerdy ones?
I may or may not have.
Oh, you probably saw memes, but not the State of the Union. So here we go. Live reaction, because I love, what's the best thing on podcasts?
Showing videos.
Videos and pictures too. You always got to have
Visuals.
that. So here it is.
Kids have faced many dangers.
Watch
Being
her.
stationed at bases breathing in toxic smoke from burn pits. Many of you have been there, breathing in toxic smoke from burn pits. Many of you have been there from burn pits.
Slow motion.
This is slow motion.
And she's just like gleaming, like smiling.
This woman. I was watching it live. Well, actually, to be honest, it was a little bit behind because I was watching on YouTube and it was like 15 minutes behind. And anyway, so this woman had me laughing my ass off. She's very excited about this. What do you call it? Initiative, this endeavor to tackle these people that are affected by burn pits. And do you guys all know what that is?
Yeah, at wartime.
So Biden was pretty much saying we're gonna help these soldiers that inhaled all these fumes and stuff, and Pelosi behind him is like giddy, like just like you said, like a Christmas morning, and she's like rubbing her palms together
Like a
Stands up.
squirrel.
Yes,
She stands up.
and stands up and like smiling. It was weird.
The timing was terrible.
I mean, sometimes she
For her
seems
to-
like it was robotic.
Yeah.
Like she's
Right.
Or I'd wondered if she's on something. Like maybe she's on like a Valium, or I don't know, the drugs that make you do whatever. But
To be a squirrel.
Be excited over burn pits.
Yeah,
But-
I don't know the squirrel drug. I'm not familiar with that.
yeah, but maybe she's on something to make her like pay attention better, be more happy and upbeat. I don't know. But she was like, it was kicking in at that moment. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, the burn pits. And she's like, ooh. It's like,
I mean, she just had to stand up. She couldn't contain
she's like,
herself.
oh. It's like so bizarre.
Well, back in the day, horse traders had tricks that they would do to make the old horses seem young, and then they'd sell them, right? One of the things they would do is inject them with glycerin, with like nitroglycerin from dynamite. They would inject them with a glycerin, and it would make them all spunky and crazy. So I'm just going on record right now that she needs to get tested for some glycerin.
Glycerin.
I think that's what it was. But they literally extract those things from dynamite and put it in the horse to make it spunky, so it didn't seem like an old horse, and then they'd sell it as a pony.
Oh, maybe that's it.
Because it's very tough to tell the age of one, politicians, and two, horses.
Nancy Glycerin Pelosi.
Yeah,
I get it.
but that meme and that whole video actually kind of makes me a little uncomfortable. I don't know why.
So there's not. It wasn't only that, because I watched most of State of the Union, and there was another point too where Biden's just rambling off things. He's like, we're going to help transgenders, and we're going to get people back to work, and we're going to raise the minimum wage. He really was just firing things off
We're
like
gonna
that,
cure
one
cancer.
after another. And she would just like jump up and clap like it was the most, like he had just announced that like the United States was giving everyone
Valium.
free money, Valium, or I don't know. It was bizarre. Like her reactions were crazy. I thought.
For the
Over the
record,
top.
nitroglycerin's actually it's a little tablet you put under your tongue. It treats chest pain. So I think I know what you're referring to, but it's not nitroglycerin.
It's not glycerin.
Oh.
It's
If it's glycerin, I don't know, but nitroglycerin is it's a medication for chest pain.
I 100% am the wrong person to ask, and I'll spoil alert on Koen, but he is in the medical field. So
I was just curious, like, what in dynamite would make you?
I don't remember, but
That sounds interesting. I don't want to try it, but I'm just curious.
well,
Like,
Pelosi might. If it makes her more spunky.
Jeff, say the right thing.
I know. I'm sorry. I'll do some
No,
research.
I'm glad Cohen's here.
I was just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
No, I know. Yeah, I know what you're saying, and it's Who knows? There has to be some kind of drugs involved, even if it was just like.
I mean, that was weird. That was bizarre.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you watch the whole State of the Union?
So I apparently missed like the first 15 minutes because I didn't catch anything about Russia. But yeah, I watched most of the rest of it. And whatever I was watching it on had subtitles, which made it really hilarious because
it's Biden.
he'd say something and you're like, what did he say? And you could see the typist like backspacing and like trying to figure stuff out as he went along. It was really fun.
You think they still use typists for closed captioning?
For live events, they probably do. Well, no, it's probably software.
Oh yeah, no.
You can do live YouTube videos
it's software, and YouTube's is when it is because it's horrible. Like the words aren't even the right words. This you could tell was live because it had to be live.
And they removed.
Yeah.
They deleted text and then fixed it. Right?
Well, yeah, because they're probably listening to him, but also going off of maybe his script that they gave him. But they can't type what he didn't say. So, like, when they're like, oh, he didn't say, he was off script there, they have to, like, go back and whatever. But he made it through, so.
And Pelosi and Nancy Pelosi must not have torn up his speech at the beginning.
Nope,
like she did with Trump's State of the Union.
Yeah, that jerk.
She took some downers before Trump's speech. Uppers for Biden's. Right?
Yeah.
I was not very pleased with that State of the Union address just because it seemed kind of cookie cutter. It was just like Jake said, we're going to cure cancer. We're going to solve this. We're going to do that. We're going to do all these things. And it's like, cool.
And the solution is to fund the police.
Yeah, apparently now.
And my favorite is and all these things that we say we're going to solve, we're going to give to the next administration in the next 4 years because we won't solve it.
Yeah.
Right.
We're just going to say words about it.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny.
No, but the thing that was really, and again, I missed the first part about Russia, but the whole rest of it, I was just surprised at how upbeat and like. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be positive, but like, I can't imagine a president giving the State of a Union when like the Nazis invaded Poland to be that like absurd.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like patting themselves on the back and instead of like preparing the country for a potentially crappy time. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely a crazy time, which gets us into our world news, which I just have one word written here with world news. Guess what that word is? Ukraine.
Vladimir.
Ukraine. Because obviously on our last podcast, we talked a lot about Russia, Ukraine, mostly Russia because we had Kale on, who had lived in Russia. But right after we finished recording that, invasions started and it's developed into airstrikes and taking over different areas and, nuclear power plants and arming up the Ukrainians and all kinds of crazy stuff. There's a full-out war going on now in a span of 10 or 8 days or whatever it's been, 7 days. So
Yeah.
I wanted to get your guys' input on it. What you think's happening? How connected have you been to what's going on as far as following the stories or what?
Well, I would say this is probably a different kind of war in the sense of journalism because of how connected we are with smartphones and how everybody has a camera right on them. I mean, I've seen videos and videos of uncensored footage of both Ukrainian soldiers dead on the floor and Russian soldiers dead on the floor. I mean, there's nothing blurred, nothing.
Jets flying by,
Jets flying by, and you see missiles, and you're like, this is happening now. This is happening today.
Yeah.
And it just feels it's odd. Because you don't have to wait for the news anchors to be there like a day after the fact saying, look at the aftermath. You can see videos of the present of a building falling down.
Right.
And you can also watch live footage. Have you noticed that? There's cameras set up all over
Kyiv.
Everywhere.
Kyiv, yeah, and you can just hop on YouTube. And I mean, the ones I've got on, nothing's happening, but in theory, you could sit there from now until when the tanks roll in and watch it happen.
So this is a great example. So this video I just pulled up on Oh wow, yeah, exactly. I just pulled up YouTube and like this first video because I've been watching a lot of this stuff on YouTube because you get a mixture of news reports plus you get the Snapchat videos that people upload and all these videos from social media, cell phones, news reports, everything kind of all on YouTube here. This one says the United States B-52 strategic bomber flies less than 100 kilometers from Ukraine. This was posted 7 hours ago and it has 1.3 million views. Because people are getting their news from places like this now. I mean, they're not tuning in at 10,
From people who have a cell phone. That's
I'm getting mine from a Reddit thread.
There you go. Yep. Which I think I know what Reddit is.
Yeah.
I think I do. But yeah, 2 days ago, 1.7 million views because just this thing happens, and it's like hours later there's millions of views on these reports. The BBC put up a video 3 hours ago, 1.2 million videos about Russians leaving their country and trying to bail. It's a very different war. It's not like any other we've had.
So is that better?
I think so.
You think so? Why?
Because if you don't have that kind of upfront and blatant news, then it's more difficult for people to shield the truth. I mean, a lot of these Russian soldiers, I've seen more than one video of them being interviewed after they've been been captured, and they're like, I had no idea that we were going to be invading. We were told that
it's a drill.
There's always different stories. There's one that was like, oh, it was a drill. We were told that you'd already surrendered. We were told that you would welcome us. And that's because Russia's still got propaganda, but everyone else in the world, I mean, you can just see the truth for what it is.
Yeah.
So I would argue that it's better that way because it might prevent future wars in the future.
Because people are like, I don't want to be all over YouTube, so I better not.
Not just that, but it's hard to sustain the propaganda.
Yeah.
In Nazi Germany, it's real easy to create a video and put it in the theaters, and that's where everyone gets their content and rumors and, you know what I mean, and newspapers and stuff. But it is interesting that, like, I've seen those videos too. Like, how would we ever know what the Russians are thinking in this situation if we just relied on the news?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You really wouldn't, because they're not talking to the news. What they are saying to the news, they say what they want you to think. But when you have a guy with a cell phone interviewing a dude that just broke, a Russian that just got both of his legs broken, and he's in a Ukrainian hospital, and it's like, why did you come here? Oh, we were told it was a special exercise. Well, what did you find out? Everyone's doing fine here. Like, there's no reason to come.
Right? Did you see that heartbreaking one with they let him call his mom, and he's like, "Mom, they lied to us. We're bombing civilians."
Yep.
Like, this. It's sad.
They're recovering phones from like these caravans where people, like Russians, are all dying and getting shot at, and Ukrainians too. They recovered a cell phone. They pulled up the last text messages, and it's a different person. Mm-hmm. The guy was texting his mom. It's like, "Hey, where are you?" "Oh, we're in Ukraine." And it's like, then you can see in this text message thread with this guy's mom, he's realizing, like, we're freaking at war right now. I thought we were coming down here because they needed help or something. And then the guy got shot, like, shortly after. He's dead. It's totally different. I don't know. What do you guys think? It's way different than any other war.
Yeah, I think that it's a very interesting to see what's going on from everyone's perspectives, but it doesn't change the importance of knowing the source of your information.
Right.
It's easy for one video
right
on TikTok to be very, very pro-Russia, and then the very next one to be very anti-Russia. It's interesting. The bipolar aspect is just even more so when you can get the news from anywhere.
Yeah.
So
would you argue that opening your news sources to multiple different sources is probably the best bet?
Yeah.
That's what I usually try to do.
Yeah, I think that that doesn't underplay the importance. I do think that it's a lot better to have resources everywhere rather than having it just be a few, biased news sources.
Right. Instead of tuning into the same news channel every night at 10 o'clock to get an update of what happened that day,
Yeah.
you can go to Reddit, you can go to this place, you can see the cell phone footage, you can see the news reports, you can see that news report,
And then make your own
take all the data
But
together.
but it's still important to know, like I said, to know your source.
Yeah.
How accurate is what you're seeing?
Yeah.
See, that's the thing that's hard for me because I've seen a few of the videos that you're talking about too, with soldiers saying things. But I've also wondered, like, is it not in Ukraine's interest to create propaganda of their own?
Right.
course.
That's kind of what
So-
where I'm headed.
That's a good
Like,
thought.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are a lot of people in Ukraine who have got social media profiles where they're just peddling as much anti-Russia stuff as they can.
And like the one I think of, you've probably all seen the one where the guy's driving along the road and he stops at the tank and he's
Yeah.
talking to the guy.
It's like looks like it's broken down or whatever.
It's actually hilarious.
And the
yeah.
guy's like, and he's like, I can tow you back to Russia, and he laughs or whatever.
And the soldiers laugh
seen
too.
that.
Yeah, but at the same time, you don't see, and like that could totally just be an overdub. Like you don't see any soldier
yeah.
talking.
Or it could have been another Russian.
Exactly. Like,
I mean, it doesn't really. Or it could have. Who knows?
and I'm not saying that it's not. I'm not trying to be like pro-Russia. All these things could be legitimate, but
No, but
Ukraine,
you're right.
Ukraine does have like where Ukraine is a weaker power and they're not going to succeed militarily. They may try to succeed in other ways, and that could be a way that they have tried is to do that. And that's what's so difficult is it's hard to know like what's going on. Like,
yeah.
granted, the stuff coming from Ukraine, I would probably trust more than I would anything coming from Russia. But at the same time, like Putin was saying, like, oh, that's just Western propaganda when people would ask him about like how many soldiers were killed and things like that. And I'm
Right.
like, well, you're just lying. But then at the same time, I'm like, but our media does get propaganda-y. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we do get
Have an
like
agenda to push.
like we're kind of like, oh, we've put all these sanctions on Russia, patting ourselves on the back. We've won, but the soldiers are still progressing. Like it doesn't seem to have actually caused anything right now to
Right.
to happen.
Well, right now it's not. Not importing oil to Russia is not going to impact them right now, but in the long run.
Yeah, when Putin
Hopefully
goes to the
it'll-
ATM in a few months, like he's going to be pissed.
Yeah, maybe.
Bank of America's not working.
I wonder though, like he had to think sanctions were coming.
Oh, yeah.
and
He knew.
and they had to have prepared.
I mean,
Oh,
like
yeah.
the EU, they've completely cut off Russia from SWIFT as
Right,
well.
for
Yeah.
the international banking system,
Yeah.
all that stuff. So it's got to have some effect, but I wonder if it has the effect that we're saying it does right now. Like
I'm interested to know there has got to be some under the table ally work done by Putin beforehand,
what do you mean?
like get people on his side,
Yeah,
because other than I heard one report that Bangladesh also invaded, but according to the Bangladesh officials, they didn't. But it just made me wonder, like, how many deals did Putin strike with other countries to get their help?
yeah.
Because he's a smart enough guy to realize that when he can't do it alone. So I'm just wondering how much help he has from other countries under the table.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sure
It's-
he does.
And hopefully these sanctions that we're doing. See, I don't know though. Like, put yourself in that situation. Say that like I brought up the Mexico thing before. Say the Mexican drug cartel thing got really, really bad. And this isn't a perfect analogy because nothing was going on bad in Ukraine. But let's say it did, and we decided to invade Mexico, and every other country on earth decided to stop doing business with us because of it. Like us as Americans who are going in to fix this drug cartel thing, are we going to be like, oh, now we won't do that because people aren't trading with us? Or are we going to think it looks like life's going to change now because we're not going to change what we're doing just because other people blah, blah, blah. And I'm asking genuinely, like, do you think we would change what we're doing?
I don't know.
No, because I think we would
Or would we be more resentful to the rest of the world?
As a developed nation, we would have contingency plans.
Yeah.
And that's what I think Russia must have, is contingency plans. They know that they're going to get a lot less oil imported. So do they have other countries that they're allied with now who have oil that they know that they're going to be able to rely on, and banking systems and all that stuff?
Well, I think the one resource they're going to run out of first is soldiers.
Oh, yeah.
Not body count. It's soldiers getting smart. I mean, I've heard of the disorganization on the front lines of Ukraine from the Russian side, because they didn't really know what was going on. There wasn't. I've heard reports that there wasn't really a clear plan of how they were going to take the city. They just thought, oh, I mean, we have more military prowess, we have more numbers, we have more tanks. I mean, it should be easy to go straight to the capital and take it. And
Yeah.
One week later, it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still fighting, so.
And it makes sense, right? Like, based off what he's done, like, if he was really going to invade Ukraine, it would have been a volley of missiles to begin with.
Airstrikes.
And just pummel everything. And then you just roll on in where people are devastated. That's,
Right.
I mean, I'm not even a military strategist, but that's,
Right.
that's how we went
organized.
Yeah, that's how we went into Iraq, right? We blew the crap out of them up with a bunch of bombs, and then we rolled in. So by that time, their infrastructure's dead, everything. They really did go in with this intent or this idea that they're just going to welcome us in. Yeah, or they'll roll over, or they realize that
The leader will flee the country with a bunch of money, and we'll just put in a new person, and there we go. But
Exactly.
I think that that's a disconnection that Putin has, is he doesn't realize, and I don't say just Putin, but that the Russian government doesn't realize there is actually pride there now, and a sense of, I think the word nationalism would be appropriate. Like, their nation is, they're proud of that.
Yeah.
They want to be that. They don't want to be part of Russia.
They have a reason to fight.
Right. They have
A lot
a
of
reason.
Russian
now.
soldiers, they don't have a reason to fight.
Right.
So
They're just told to, is one thing. But it's a confusing thing, because we are so disconnected to it, even though we're supposedly more connected to it than ever. You know what I mean?
right, because we're not there. We're
not there.
I'm not a Russian soldier. I don't know what I've been told.
yeah.
I grew up in Ukraine. I don't know what the generations have been like, but we do have a lot more video and a lot more different sources reporting on it, which makes it an interesting point.
Well, and yeah, and I come back to the propaganda thing a little bit, because we see these videos of the Russian soldiers that are saying, "Oh, we weren't supposed to be here." But does that mean that videos of soldiers that are like, "Shut up! I know exactly why I'm here," like, or
Right.
you know what I mean? Like,
They're always younger. You're right about that. I mean, I think a lot of the older soldiers. I mean, I saw one of the tanks. They had a sticker of the Soviet Union on there.
yeah,
And that's because they still have that old pride, and they're like
That
old
mindset.
soldiers.
yeah,
Right.
And it could be, and like, I had a brain fart. What was his name? Your brother that we had on last
Kale?
week. Kale was
Yeah.
saying that the older generation over there tends to be more like pro-communism.
Yeah.
Like,
And they would.
and so you could have a lot of soldiers there that are there to for it, just like anything we send soldiers into. Like, we send soldiers into Iraq. Some of them serve honorably the whole time and like come back and like, yeah, I'm glad I went. And some of them hate it as soon as they get there. Some of them, had a terrible time. Like, and I mean, they all had a terrible time. But
I think I've seen 4 or 5 videos of Russian soldiers saying they didn't realize what was going on. They weren't told the information, and they were all young. They were all
Younger.
all like
Young.
20, 18 even.
yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe that's intentional on their side. Maybe they're like, don't tell the younger guys. They all think that communism is bad. So,
Right.
And just the older guys know what's going on. Or maybe none of them did. Maybe it really was like, I say none of them, maybe all the way up to Putin. Maybe Putin genuinely believed that they would just, and I did, as soon as they were massing along the border, I was like, oh, Ukraine's going to be Russia's in like a day or two.
Yeah.
Like, they're just going to roll over. Because my understanding was that Ukraine was super corrupt, and that whoever was running it would probably just
Well,
take
and I
off.
think that's an interesting point, is that Ukraine historically has been very corrupt, but
Yeah.
I think they've turned a corner at some point. And one of the coolest things I've saw, and Google it and look it up for yourself, is the support that it's getting from private individuals and private companies in all over the world.
Yeah.
To go to Ukraine. I saw a report of Britain, Thailand, America, all private citizens going there on their own determinism with their own weapons and their own thing, ready to fight for
Retired
Ukraine.
military people from around the world.
I mean, when you have somebody as patriotic as Zelensky, I mean, it's hard not to be inspired when he's saying, we're just fighting for our land and our freedom.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that really got to me, because like I said, my impression was, oh, Ukraine's really corrupt, really corrupt. The kind of guy that puts his life on the line like that is not corrupt. I mean, not saying he's perfect, but a corrupt guy takes the money and bails.
Right, he wouldn't stay at the front line.
Yeah.
He'd be gone.
He'd be out of that country and be getting on videos. Good luck, everybody. You can fight for us.
Yeah.
While he sips his,
he's
whatever.
in a bunker in Denver or something. But
His vodka.
my favorite quote from this whole thing, and this isn't verbatim of what they said. I can't remember what they said exactly. Was Zelensky said, "I need ammunition, not a ride."
Yeah. Yeah.
So the Biden basically offered to extract Zelensky and his cabinet, right, the government, and get them out of there. And his response was, "I need ammunition,
I'm
not
going
a
down
ride."
with the ship if I need to. Yeah, Stacy's like, all of a sudden every woman in the world has a huge crush on Zelensky.
Yeah.
He's just like a stud leader that's standing strong.
He was an actor, right?
Yeah.
Oh, was
He's a comedian.
Yeah, he was a comedian, yeah.
He's an actor who played the president once
That's cool.
in one of his shows or roles or something.
That's funny. It'd be like Morgan Freeman becoming president,
Yeah.
or
Right.
like
Jimmy Fallon
Yeah.
becoming
Or-
president.
Yeah.
Or Ronald Reagan. Oh, wait. Ronald Reagan was an actor, wasn't he?
That's right.
Yeah,
He was.
okay. So that's
I was
not.
like,
okay.
that's right.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wait. Oh.
No, but because we were talking about the propaganda thing, it was interesting because Elon Musk has said, because he's
Oh, he said the Starlink.
he set the Starlink thing for people
Yeah.
to use, but he recently said that he will not censor Russian media propaganda.
Yeah.
And he specifically said free speech is free speech, whether you like it or not, or whatever.
Right.
So, and I really like that. Like, even though I don't like Russian propaganda, I think the only way that truth can survive in this media type thing is to just let everybody
Yep.
say their thing. Like,
Joe Rogan.
yeah, because otherwise you
Whoopi
can't.
Goldberg.
Otherwise, you can never trust it, because it's like once you censor one thing, you have no idea what's being censored next.
And if I'm not mistaken, that was the whole point of the internet.
Yeah,
Is this uncensored, this thing that you could go do. And it's interesting to see how it's evolved.
Yeah.
Because at one point it was. It's
Yeah.
like, you want to go see videos of people dying? I mean, this is before YouTube.
I mean,
You guys remember
that's
this?
all I've ever known.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. You don't need videos.
I
of that.
grew up on YouTube.
Yeah.
so-
Oh, that's right. But even before YouTube, you could go online and see, I can't remember what they were called, but there were people that would compile these videos of literally filmed people that had died. Like, guy got hit by a train, guy got shot, guy got decapitated, whatever.
Yeah.
It's messed up, right? But at the same time, like you said, if you censor any of it, you got to censor. I don't know. It's weird. It's not free speech.
Yeah,
at that
well,
point.
censoring is a slippery slope, because it implies that what you are letting be seen is 100% the right
Real.
thing, and what you are not letting to be seen is 100% the wrong thing. But there's truth in hearing from both sides perspectives and all that stuff. So it's dangerous to censor.
well, and
Elon Musk has got it right.
he may actually be even smarter than just that. It might not be solely on that principle, because by doing that, Russia, I think, is inevitably going to take over Ukraine, which means, if the satellite, whatever, internet's still going, Russia will have more control of it, or at least have the control to shut it off or not. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work, but in theory, they'll be less likely to want to shut it off if he's been open like that, which would mean
That's true.
potentially that people, even though they'll have access to Russian state media, they'll still have access to everything else, which would be really important, I
Right.
think.
Did you hear that Putin went on? He put the country in nuclear alert.
Yeah.
I don't know. How do you feel about that? Because Ukraine, they don't have any nuclear weapons. They gave all that up in the 90s. So
I think he's just
Flexing.
flexing. I think that's most likely. He's probably pissed because, like
do
you
you think
said,
he would go that far?
I don't think he's that dumb. Unless he's like,
I mean, if he did, he'd be done. Done.
he'd be dumb, but
If he used
we
a
all
nuclear
could
weapon.
be, maybe.
Yeah.
That's the problem. is
Right.
that's the thing about nuclear war is like he shoots one off and it's just like a bloodbath. Like, and I don't know. Like,
It's not, blood doesn't survive a nuclear blast.
right.
It's not a bloodbath.
It's a dust.
I wish it was a
bowl.
bloodbath.
It's a
it's-
nuclear dust bowl.
It's you hit the reset button on the Sega Genesis. It's just you start all the way over. Doesn't matter what level you're on, you start over.
And that, I think, could end up being the ultimate test of humanity. Is pretty much once one of those things is fired,
What
what the
happens?
next person does.
Right.
Can the next person show enough restraint to say,
Nope.
that sucks, but we're not going to get into this?
I think every dictator dreams about doing it. Like
Shooting
Kim
it-
Jong Un, is like, I really, really want to launch a nuke. I really want to.
You think so?
You think so?
Yeah, just to
It's
see what
it's the
happens.
biggest power flex. I mean,
Just to see what happens.
you can decimate. I mean,
Yeah.
the last one that was put off was Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah.
The ones that we've developed now, I mean, they're like 100 times the blast radius. You could decimate an entire city. I mean,
Yeah, massive.
tri-state area of New York City gone.
But that's what I'm saying.
By a small one, really.
Right.
Like,
I mean, we're not talking the Tsar Bomba.
yeah.
But God forbid.
Right. Well, and that's what Russia's saying now. I guess they're building one that's twice as big as that, as the Tsar Bomba, which
Why?
is the biggest one ever.
Why is that necessary?
But they're going to mount it in a nuclear torpedo. So it'll actually fly underwater and then explode and blow up the whole of New York or wherever. Like, and see, I think those things with like North Korea and stuff, I don't think anybody, including Putin, has any intention of launching them.
Maybe not intention, but they'd think about it.
I think it's a deterrent. And when
Sitting on the toilet, scrolling through TikTok, they're thinking about it.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Uh-huh.
At some point. Okay.
and when Putin says, "Oh, we're arming our nukes" and all that, that is a deterrent. It's to get
Right.
people to stop. And he is right that we think that economic warfare, quote unquote, is just going to be that. But historically, that's what caused World War II with Japan. That's why Japan attacked us, is because we put embargoes on their ships for oil or something like that was hurting their economy.
Yeah.
That's why they bombed Pearl Harbor. So to say that, like, oh, we're just going to put these sanctions on because we don't want to get boots on the
That's kind of
ground.
like gassing the wasp nest.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, we want to avoid this direct fight, so we're going to do these things, but that could inadvertently cause the direct
Yeah.
fight. So,
Well, I'll tell you that I've thought about this quite a bit to the point where I looked up Salt Lake City, which is the closest major city, right, to us. Where does that rank on the biggest cities in America? Because at what point, if you just start at the top of the list, like New York, Los Angeles and Houston and Alabama, or not Alabama, anyway, Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, whatever the list is, right? I'm like, where does Salt Lake City sit? I really did look that up because I'm like,
We're under the top 10, right? We've got to be.
we're
we got-
120 something, I think.
120, yeah.
It's tiny,
Yeah.
basically. So I was thinking, okay, so there's at least 100 other cities to bomb before us. Where would I go?
That
What
was
would
just
I
that
do?
person.
Why not?
No, it's not a bad one, though.
so the thing you got to look at, though, too, is nobody strategically would be wise to just kill a lot of people. They would go after military targets, and Utah has a couple military
Several of
bases,
them.
and we have that giant NSA data center that is probably potentially a of military interest. So
It's on a military base.
Yeah.
Of course.
To go for that many civilians, that's not really war. That's just terrorism. At that
right,
point.
exactly. I don't think Putin. I mean, I'm not a Putin expert, but he doesn't seem like I just want to kill people.
Right.
And Ukraine kind of proves that, because he could have killed a lot of people by now easily. But he has been kind of slowly going in. They lob a couple bombs. They have some gunfights. It's been kind of a slow going process.
I think that his actions it proves that he does not want an all-out war, because he's sticking to the idea of, oh, this was just an exercise. We're just going to go in there. He's not destroying the city. He's not trying to target mass death. I think truly what he wants is he wants to keep the infrastructure there as much as he can. He wants to go in and to overtake the government.
Right.
And he doesn't want Ukraine to join NATO.
Right.
That's less people on the Russian border.
On the red team.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and that, I guess someone was saying that, or maybe I was watching something that earlier, and I say earlier, like in the 2014, 15 or something, there was a president who was pretty much like Putin's puppet. And Putin was okay with that. But then
That's
that
what
guy
Kale was saying.
Yeah, oh, that's what it was. And then he got voted out and then like ran away to Russia, helicoptered out of there in the middle of the night. And then they put someone else in, and Russia was pissed. Like,
Right.
And that's what good leaders do.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, yeah, good leaders, they head out in the middle of the night. But yeah, it sucks. The whole thing sucks. But I kind of feel like there's not a lot we can do. Russia probably is going to take over Ukraine, and that's probably a reality.
It sucks. It's like watching the big guy beat up the little guy at the bar.
Yeah.
It's like,
And knowing-
I guess we're not really going to do anything.
Yeah, and knowing that, like, if you get into it, he's going to pull his gun and
Right.
shoot.
Or there's 3 people behind him with guns.
Right.
You're just kind of like, okay, this sucks, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to pay his tab.
It makes me wonder though if that does occur, to what expense? Because I've seen so many of the Ukrainian citizens. You have like hundreds of people making Molotovs, doing anything that they can, in the inevitability that maybe Russia will take over. So I mean, will there be anything left? I mean, some of the Ukrainians, like, they really don't want this to happen.
Yeah.
So what will that cost? Would it even be worth having Ukraine at that point?
Well, and that, I think, is what the Ukrainian people will decide. They'll have to decide to be beaten and just kind of submit, or they're going to have to decide to be like the Taliban or the Vietnamese, you know, that are like, we're never going to stop fighting, and so we're just going to keep fighting till you realize that and leave.
Or kill us.
Or kill us. And I don't know. I don't know
And is
those people
Zelensky gonna
enough.
go down fully with the ship?
Yeah,
or
I'm
is
sure
just
he
gonna be
will.
like-
I'm sure they'll get him before long, but I don't know. And maybe it'll pretty much be taken over, and then he'll leave. That would kind of make sense, but maybe not. I don't know. It's crazy.
I'll tell you in a few years.
Okay.
I'll come back here and be like, hey, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's either going to be a world-changing thing, or it's going to kind of fizzle out, and Russia will own Ukraine again. And
I mean, would you not say that that's akin to appeasement, like in World War II? You just let him do what he's going to do.
yeah, well, that's what we did. I think they pretty much rolled through most of Europe before we got going.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then there's the other question, like, how much is it okay for everyone else to interfere?
Right.
Like, where is the line there? I mean,
Well, and I think they've said the line is Poland, right? If
Oh,
he
yeah. If they
invades
invade a
Poland,
NATO country, then it's game over.
And that's what's kind of funny is it's like, I don't know.
Well, it's the exact same analogy. If you saw a guy getting beat up at the bar, like he had a couple classes with you, but you didn't really know him, and then that guy starts beating up your friend, okay, time to step in, because this is my friend, like, I know this guy.
right, but if that same guy, he beats up one of the army officers at the bar, and then all of his buddies are like, whoa, what's going on? That's like NATO.
Yeah, exactly.
You just don't touch.
Yeah, don't touch that guy.
Yeah.
All right. I'm depressed enough. Let's go on to the super, super sad subject of our... No, I'm just teasing. On to the main topic of the night. Awesome Koen. Koen did something totally crazy in high school, Phil. Something that we could not imagine. In fact, we barely graduated by the skin of our teeth, and Phil didn't quite.
It wasn't didn't quite. It was not even close.
So basically, we sucked in school. And meanwhile, you got people like Koen over here he graduated from high school with a medical degree.
Wow, I mean, it's an LPN license. I wouldn't call it
Oh,
a degree,
come on.
but, you know.
Okay, fine. A medical license.
A nurse.
You became a nurse.
Yeah.
An LPN. What does that stand for?
Licensed practical nurse, but depending on what state you're in, sometimes they call an LVN, which is licensed vocational nurse. It's like
Okay.
the first rung of the ladder in nursing.
Well,
And it goes LPN, and
And then you become a
RN.
registered nurse,
Yeah.
and then after that you can specialize in RN. You can do maternity, and you do, I don't know, diabetic foot care, whatever it is you're specializing in.
Yeah.
right. So here's the question is that there is a couple medical degrees or things below an LPN, right? Like there's a MA medical assistant or are those even like what are those?
Well, I would say in healthcare, in LPN, that's like, you know, it's like the bottom rung of the ladder for nursing, and
Okay.
it basically anything else is essentially above you, but unless you're talking like nursing assistants and
NA.
and things like that, but LPNs are definitely necessary,
Yeah.
and they can also make good money, but anything else you need to go to school for and actually get like and you can have an LPN degree without an associate's. You
Right.
don't even have to have an associate's, and you can have the license.
I see. So how old were you when
It's
you
almost,
actually...
I'd almost say it's like a trade. It's
Oh,
almost
okay.
like a trade school,
Yeah.
because that's what nursing is. It's a trade.
Okay. So at what point did you actually become an like how old were you when you became an LPN?
When I officially had my license come in the mail, I wasn't 18 years old.
You weren't?
I was not. So I could not actually legally. You can have an LPN license and be legally considered a nurse, but you cannot legally work until you're 18. I found that little idiosyncrasy in the law was kind of funny there, but
I'm sure not a lot of people run across that.
no, most people do not. So I had to wait a couple months after getting my license, then I could start working.
So you got your license in the mail a few months before you even turned 18.
Yeah, it was like June or July of 2018, and my birthday's in August.
Wow.
So
That's awesome. And so when you turned 18, you
went to work.
went to work, had
Yeah,
a job.
It was terrifying. But
And this is what date again?
this would have been September in 2018 was my first job.
So you started working like a couple months before the pandemic,
A couple months before the
Hit.
pandemic. Yep.
enough to get like trained. This is
Yeah.
what normal nursing is like.
Yeah. The first place I actually worked in was a psych ward in New York City, which
Oh, wow.
was a little bit of a rude awakening, but a lot of fun. Definitely a lot of fun. It taught me a lot about the kind of environments LPNs work in, because LPNs, they can work in a hospital environment, but most hospitals now, this was before COVID, but they prefer, and almost some even require, registered nurses with either an associate's or a bachelor's, and they've been kind of phasing out LPNs. Like in LDS Hospital, I think there's still a couple LPNs, but they'll push you to go get your RN because it's just legality
Yeah.
at that point, and you also have more training and experience. But
So you started working like a month after, right when you turned 18, basically.
essentially,
Holy crap. Were you graduated from high school by then? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. I don't know
so
how
it was that summer. My birthday cut off means I graduated high school when I was 17, almost 18. So it was like that summer I turned 18.
So while I was taking returns at Target during that era, in that time frame of my life, and checking people out at Target, you were.
Passing medications and
Yeah, okay.
doing treatments. And,
What were you doing this summer after you graduated, work-wise?
What was I doing that summer? I don't even remember.
Was that the most epic summer? Because I think actually, technically, the summer, my dad was like, yeah, you can have a few months to kind of do what you want, but then we really need to get things going in your life. And I'm like, cool.
No, I can't remember right after high school because I didn't graduate and I didn't go to like my whole senior year.
Yeah.
So I was already like out of school for a while. So I can't remember what I was doing. But I was working. Just don't remember.
Oh, were you in a
what.
call center?
I don't remember if I was at that time. I'm
Yes.
drawing a blank.
So
on
while
that
most
one.
people can't even remember what the hell they're doing, or working at a call center,
Yeah.
or
I wasn't doing anything remotely like career oriented. I wasn't
Yeah.
like, this is my goal.
I mean, hey,
in
the
life.
irony is that I didn't even want to be a nurse.
Oh, really?
That was never something that crossed my mind. I didn't have aspirations as a 10-year-old, like,
Right.
or maybe my parents were a nurse or something. Like, I had nothing like that.
Yeah.
It was just when I was 14, I saw an opportunity and I was like, it's better than having a fancy diploma. I get a job at high school.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it made the most logical sense. But it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
So let's rewind even before that then. So I know this because I know you, and we're kind of family once removed. Like I've said more than once in the podcast, my family's a little complicated, but we're family.
We're family.
Okay,
Come on.
good. Okay.
You're my uncle.
All right. So basically, you were homeschooled
Yeah.
till how old? Till what grade?
Wow. I was homeschooled from first grade, well, actually second grade, all the way through to 8th grade.
8th grade.
And that was when 8th grade was when I went back to public school because I was like, Mom, if I'm going to be going to high school, I do not want my first year back to be my freshman year. Let me be my first year back, 8th grade.
Yeah.
Because I'm just glad that I had the foresight to do that because
That is good.
Freshman year would have been miserable.
Which is interesting. My kids are also homeschooled, and they just started going to school. My daughter's in 8th grade.
Yeah, I
So
feel
it's
like
a good
that's
time.
before high school. My personal opinion is that nobody should homeschool through high school. That is my personal opinion. Some people will say otherwise, but I feel like high school is an experience that everyone needs to have in some way or another.
Right. It's a social thing. There's things that you cannot do at homeschool that are like more group oriented,
and
that really
there's
engage.
that peer pressure to push you forward to better yourself, to achieve.
I don't agree with that. Was that in our existence?
That was in mine. That was my experience.
I know.
Not everyone has that. Not everyone has that.
If anything, it was like pushed to be lazy and
Well,
not to do it.
I actually agree with him though, because even though we weren't like pushed academically, we would make fun of each other if we weren't working. You know what I mean? Like that was kind of a thing. So everyone tended to have a job because if we went out to eat or something and somebody didn't have money, you got made fun
Like,
of.
hey man,
Yeah.
what's up with that?
So there was even for us that social push to like,
Hold a certain standard.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And it wasn't that good of standard, but I get what you're saying.
Like they just had to pay for
It's
their own
harder
pizza.
to do nothing when you have friends that push you
Exactly.
to do something. Even if it's not academics,
Right.
you're doing something.
Exactly.
Okay, so then 8th grade, and then you're in New York at this time, right? Because
Yeah, New York City.
You grew up in New York City, which is cool. But in New York at that time was 9th grade high school. Like, did you actually go to high school from 9 to 12? With all
I
those
did.
guys.
I was the lucky one who actually got to do that.
To keep going, I'm just
Because
looking.
my father's in the Coast Guard.
Yeah.
So we moved around a lot. We mostly lived in New York, but even then, like my older brother, we was in 2 different high schools. My younger brother,
Oh, okay.
more than one high school. I was just the lucky one who happened to be right when we moved there. I got to do all 4 years in one school. So
But the 4 years was high school.
High school.
Like when we went, just I want to clarify that
One
because
high.
sometimes people go 9th grade is in the junior high or middle school.
oh yeah,
and
that's
then,
a
you know.
as far as I know, that's a Western like
Oh, really?
West Coast thing. I've never seen that on the East Coast. They
So-
always have the 4 years. But
So where do 6th graders go on the East Coast? Do they go to elementary school or are they in middle school?
It's 6th, 7th, 8th is
Okay, it's middle school.
9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, high school.
Nice. Okay. That's how it is here right now, but I think they fluctuated based on how many students are in each grade.
That's interesting.
So.
In Boston, K through 8s were common, so you didn't have middle school.
Oh, wow.
You just had kindergarten through 8th grade,
I've heard
and then
of
you
that.
had high school.
The kindergartners all got picked on by the 11-year-olds.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, you know, I feel like if we're going to talk about how I became a nurse to begin with,
Yeah.
you have to talk about my high school, because it's a really interesting case. I mean, the high school itself, it's the oldest high school on Staten Island, so it was like 1904 it was built. It looks kind of
Wow.
it's like 4 stories. It looks kind of like a castle from the outside, but ghetto on the inside.
Yeah.
And
Like a cream-filled castle.
right, and you wouldn't think when you go inside, your first thought would not be, oh, they have a nursing program.
Right.
When I heard about that, I was like, excuse me? I was like, you know, like a CNA program, right? I mean, like, that's what it is. Like,
Right.
no, you're going to become an LPN. And I was like, you mean like a nurse? And they said, yes. And I was really confused. Because, I mean, the other programs, I mean, they had excuse my language, they had a shitty ROTC.
Right.
Journalism, which was like, if you're in journalism, it was like snicker because it doesn't go anywhere. I mean, they had, it was like, you know, like kind of like a regular high school. They weren't particularly stunning programs. A lot of the people in the population of my school were very low income. I mean, there was some gang activity at my school, a lot of drug trades. I mean, I saw drug deals myself.
Did you have a metal detector at the front doors?
Many times, yes. They would do random checks. Like, you would see some people when they were coming in, they'd be like, "Oh shit," and then they're like, "I'm not coming in today," because they've got something in their bag. I mean,
Right. That kind of sums it all up. If you're
That
doing
sums it
bag
all up.
checks, like we never.
that
had
was the kind of school that I was in. But then they had a nursing. It was so you wouldn't think it, but
Yeah.
they did. And so when I saw that freshman year, they're like, "What program do you want to do?" And I'm like, it was either I go to Curtis High School and do their nursing program, or I went to Staten Island Tech and get a fancy, you know, diploma so I can go into a fancy school.
Right. Okay. So you joined this program in what grade?
You start the program in 9th grade, but that's more of like interest.
Right.
You know, you're in the program, but you're not really in the
It's like
program.
yeah.
It's just a placeholder.
Right.
You know, and there's like there were a little over 200 students who were placeholders in the program.
Right.
And then sophomore year, freshman year, you don't do anything. It's just a placeholder. But then sophomore year, you take a test. It's just the T's 5. It's basically, we always said it was to see who was actually educated and who wasn't. Just basic math skills, English skills,
Right.
like who actually knows what's up.
Weed out the bottom rung, right? from
Read
the
out
beginning.
the bottom right from the beginning, and that cut all. There were like over 200 students in that test room, and at the end of it, I think there were 46 of us, 45 of us.
Oh wow.
So yeah, they cut us. They cut it off.
So yeah, we would have been kicked out at that point. I think.
Kicked out of
I
school?
would have. Well, the program,
Yeah.
if we were even involved in the program to begin with.
Right. And then junior year, you right when we started, our clinical instructor, her name was Miss Fasano. She walks into the room and she explained what the program was, and she was straight up. She's like, "This is going to be hard," and she's like, "This isn't going to be a normal high school experience. You're going to have to sacrifice some things, and she's like, half of you in this room will not be here by the end of this year."
So this is like 40-something
And
students.
like 40, 45.
Okay.
And after she did that, there were 2 people. One of them was my friend Nicole. They walked out.
There's like
Right, already at the start, 43. They were cut down. It was, and I'm not gonna lie, I was like, what have I gotten myself into?
Right.
I was like, because I just wanted a high school experience. I wanted to have fun. I was still a kid,
Yeah.
but I'm like, they're talking about nursing and medication administration, and I'm like, yeah,
It was a lot.
it was a lot.
Yeah. I think I could barely brush my own teeth and wipe my own ass at that point. Let alone take care of someone else.
Well, we were wiping other people's asses, so.
So when you're in the program during school, like what kind of things were you doing? Was it, obviously nursing is one of those things you can't just learn in a course room or in a
Absolutely
classroom.
not.
You have
Absolutely
to. Were you going to hospitals? Were
Yes.
you getting cadavers?
Yes.
What kind of things would you do?
So junior year, they started this off with the basics: medical, surgical nursing, anatomy and physiology. They had a maternity course, nutrition, the whole shebang, all the prerequisites, all the things that you need to become a nurse.
Right.
And one time a week, it was Monday, in junior year, we were split into two groups. One would go one Monday, one would go the next, and we would go to a clinical. It was either a hospital or a nursing home, or so that we could learn nursing aid skills, because you can't be a nurse if you don't have aid skills as well.
What do you mean nursing aid skills? I'm gonna have to clarify a lot of stuff. So
That's okay. That's okay. A certified nursing assistant. They're generally, a nurse is not above doing these things, but generally, when you're at a nursing home, they're the ones who are doing bed baths, helping change briefs, helping make beds, stuff like that.
Right.
And there's a lot of skills that are required to be able to do that efficiently. I mean, you ever tried moving a 300-pound man back and forth to change his diaper?
Right.
Well, it takes practice.
It takes technique.
Technique and practice.
And then, so when you say nurses aid, it literally means helping the nurses.
Helping the
okay,
nurses.
cool.
Yep.
That clarifies it for me.
That's what, and they go by different names, either CNA, NA, there's a couple
Bitch,
other.
whatever.
Whatever it is. But, nursing homes can't run without CNAs.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. So
You gotta respect your aides.
You got to have someone in the restaurant that cleans the dishes and mops the floors, and you got to have someone that cooks it. You got. It takes a whole team.
It takes a team.
Yeah.
And so, that's mostly what we learned junior year. And then after that, oh boy, so many people are kicked out. Some people, they're like, you know what, I'm done with this shit. Some people, it was like they were trying their hardest, but they just couldn't. They couldn't do it, and there were tears. You'd see people in the back of the classroom. They'd give them their test score, and you'd see somebody start crying.
What was so upsetting about it is that, there's a lot of after-school hours put into this. And
it was just a lot of time and effort, and just the idea of putting in all that effort
and
for it all to be, nothing. To be put into another program. You've been putting so much hope into this. I can see how it would be emotionally. It was emotionally draining. The program was.
Okay.
And that was the only beginning. Senior year was. I'd say senior year is a little bit harder.
I think I remember Marco Poloing you in your senior year, and you would send me messages and say things to me that I was like, what in the hell is this kid talking about? That amount of work ethic wasn't even in my mind my senior year. I felt like I had insomnia from watching, VH1 all night.
Honestly, I didn't know I had it in me. I wouldn't have been able to do it if it weren't for the. Senior year, there were 20 of us. So all those 200 students who wanted to were cut down to 20 people senior year, and that's the final stretch. Once you're there's less a sense of competition and more a sense of we're here, now let's get each other to the end.
More of a team.
And more of a team effort.
Yeah.
And it would not have been possible without that, because
that's cool.
Senior year, you have 1 week in the hospital, not going to high school, hospital. 1 week high school. 1 week hospital, 1 week high school. On and off the entire year.
Holy crap.
So you're hours and hours. I shadowed doctors, I shadowed other nurses. I saw an open heart surgery when I was 16 years old in the room with all my gear on, looking at the open heart on the table, and I was like, wow. And I got to see, the program was amazing.
That is so crazy.
You know what the best part was?
What?
The fees were only $500.
The fees?
Fees, $500. If you go to an actual school...
Wait, for the whole program?
The whole program, it was and then, of course, maybe you're buying some scrubs and stuff like that, so maybe you put it at maybe $1,000.
But you got to wear clothes anyways, whether it's scrubs or not. Yeah.
Right. So it was because they had a big budget,
right?
And they want to help these low-income students have an opportunity.
Yeah. Was it like a Title I school where it's considered low income and rough and?
I don't actually know if it was actually Title I, but. It was just low income.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
I think that's actually pretty cool that they have it.
It was really cool. It was really cool.
So you graduate, which is already a feat. You're an LPN, which is amazing. And you get a job that summer in a mental institution?
Yeah. It was a psychiatric hospital in
Holy crap.
Staten Island. which was really interesting. I mean, HIPAA violations. I'm not going to talk about any residents' names specifically, but
can you tell? That's a good question too. Can you tell stories about people that are
tell stories
ambiguous
generally
people?
Because it's ambiguous. I mean, there was an individual who, looking out for my license, individual who genuinely actually got hit on the head by a coconut. Like a classic cartoon, and he was never the same after. And he was in the institution.
Phil, do you?
Did I get hit in the head with
No.
a
Is that what's wrong with you, Phil?
Yeah.
No, but you were in the Philippines. There's lots of coconut trees, right?
Yeah.
I swear we had talked about this once upon a time, that there's an actual rate of death.
There is.
And obviously mental incapacity.
Well, did he get hit in the head with a dry coconut husk or an actual coconut?
This is what I was told. I was told he was on vacation and he got hit on the head by a coconut. That was it. So I would assume it fell out of a tree.
Yeah.
But I mean...
So he's lucky he's alive then.
Yeah.
Because coconuts...
I would say he had to wear a helmet. I mean... He's doing a lot of banging his head on the wall, and he was gone. He wasn't out there, and I always felt sympathy for him because I wondered who he was before he lost it. But
so if you look at a coconut in the grocery store, that's actually like the seed in a peach.
Right.
So there's a huge bowling ball size heavy husk on the outside. So it some of them weigh I would say 10, 15 pounds, dropping from 30 feet. It's a bowling ball falling on you. So I can understand some.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that they were messing with me when they explained the story. I was like, oh, yeah, that's funny.
That's funny.
I was like, all right, what actually happened? And they were like, no. I was like,
You're teasing the young guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on that. Being an 18-year-old nurse.
Oh, I'm sure.
No respect. None.
I can't get no respect.
I couldn't get any. I mean, you have all these CNAs. They've been working there for 20, 30 years. I mean, most of the institution was staffed by a lot of Jamaican women for some reason. I don't know why, but there were just a lot of them. And, they see this 18-year-old white boy walking in, and they're like, I'm the nurse. And they're like, what? And they know them better than I do, so it's like, how am I supposed to have the authority to lead them? Because the LP, the nurse, is supposed to be the one who delegates tasks, who's like, in the unit is the leader for a while, and then they obviously when a doctor comes on or supervisor, they're the ones that are in charge, but
right.
I couldn't find any respect. I had to basically. I don't know, kiss ass.
Not have any friends there, just be the jerk.
It was really hard.
Yeah,
it was lonely.
Yeah,
because it's like you feel like nobody can. They're not even remotely your age. They're all double your age at least.
Wow.
So it was really, really interesting.
Have you ever been in a situation like that, Phil, where you had to be in charge of people that were older than you?
By quite a bit. I mean, some of these 50s, 40s. And I'm 18 years old, fresh out of high school, and I have to be in charge of them? I mean, I didn't even know what to do.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
I'm still learning myself, because just because you have a nursing license, when you're fresh out, you're a granny. I mean, you got a lot to learn.
Right.
You just have the legal license to work, but you're going to make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
You got a lot to learn.
The only thing I could compare is I started college when I was 22.
Right.
So everyone in my class was 18. And it's a pretty big age difference, 18 to 22, even though it's not. I'd been on a mission to the Philippines and stuff like that. So that was a little unique because there was that age gap. But that's not 50 years.
Yeah.
We're talking right out of high school, and these guys are going to retire. And they're veterans.
They've got kids. They've got
kids, grandkids, maybe.
They've got kids your age.
Yeah.
No, that was what they would say. They'd be like, whenever I would come on, they'd say, oh, you're the CNA. Here's what section you're going to be on. I'm like, no, I'm the nurse. And then, I only once did I have somebody actually laugh because they thought I was joking.
Yeah.
But usually it was just surprise. They're like, "Oh, you're the nurse." And
you're the guy.
I'm the nurse, which is partly why I started growing my hair out. I even started growing a mustache because it put on even if just a couple more years, anything to make me look like I was at least in my mid-20s was appreciated. But
Mar up and scar your face a little.
honestly, at that point, that would have been helpful too.
So that is crazy. So of course, the thing that everyone wants to hear, which we're just crowd pleasers, maybe. Like, I don't know what other, where did your career go? What do you do now? And then like, tell us some stories. That's what people want to hear.
I got quite a few of them.
So let's start with the first question, which is just, so you're at this mental institution or asylum, whatever it is, where there's mentally deficient people there. And then you've gone on to do what? That was in New York. Did you stay there while you were in New York, and then you moved to Utah after? Or
I stayed there while I was in New York, yeah. And then once the pandemic started coming around, people were like, oh, there's this new disease. People were, they weren't thinking it was going to be a full-blown pandemic. They're just like, okay, we're going to start doing, temperatures and O2s when you come to work. And this was all very, very new. I mean, this was like February 2020. Like, they hadn't even been officially locked down or announced. And and working there, it was good. I learned a lot. There were some interesting individuals that I met in those places, both employees and residents.
And let me interrupt you here, because is this where the guy that was addicted to water was?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. There was an individual who was addicted to water. I mean, they had to lock his toilet. They had to disconnect his sink from the drain. I mean, he was on water restrictions. Any water that was given him by a staff member. Because the thing about it is there was some sort of psychological connection to him drinking water. It was like a trigger. If he drank too much of it, he'd go off. And it would be like...
Like what? Like he would be drunk?
Not... You know what? Not quite under the influence, but sometimes it would go for 48 hours straight of him. He'd repeat himself over and over again. He'd touch other people. It was like night and day difference from how he usually was, because he drank too much water. Like,
is it the difference between being sufficiently hydrated and overhydrated?
He would easily overhydrate. I mean, if he had access to a couple gallons of water, he'd drink them.
Oh my gosh!
Because it was like a drug to him.
It was like I don't know. I'd never seen the diagnosis before. I don't even recognize it. It was like the most unique case I've ever seen in my life. And I always asked. I was like, why is he on a water restriction? And like, oh, don't give him water. And when I gave it to him, it was like during medication pass, you give him his psych meds and you give him the water with halfway filled up.
Wow.
And that was it. But goodness gracious, he'd be up for like 48 hours if he had too much water.
He wouldn't sleep.
He'd be walking back and forth in the hallway, bothering people, and then he would crash for like 24 hours.
So it was like meth for him.
It was like meth.
Oh my gosh.
I'd never seen anything like it. In all my years since then, I've only been a nurse for 2.5 years, I haven't seen anything else like that.
That's so crazy.
It is crazy.
Ridiculous.
Well, I guess that makes sense.
You almost can't believe it. Like when I hear myself saying it, I almost can't believe it.
Right.
But it was one of the first things I was introduced to. So
Wow.
It's ridiculous.
So when did you move to Utah?
That summer, 2020.
2020. So that's like when things were starting to get more heavy with COVID, I guess.
Right.
And Utah probably. Did you notice a change between being a nurse in New York with COVID and then coming here with COVID?
Yeah, I mean, coming here with COVID, everyone in New York would wear a mask. Everyone. You come here and they were like half and half. I mean, so obviously as the pandemic went on, you see more and more masks. It becomes more socially acceptable. But during that summer, I mean, like, there were still people. You'd see people without wearing masks. You just never saw that.
And when you say that, are you talking about the general population or at work?
General populace. At work, that's different. I mean,
everyone was wearing them in both places.
Right. Yeah, at both places. I meant general populace.
Yeah. Okay. And so you got here, COVID's happening. So what has that been like? Like you.
I actually started. I came here for the University of Utah. So that I could actually get my RN.
Oh, okay.
So I wasn't actually working when I came here.
Gotcha.
I got a job just in case I needed it, PRN. So if I ran out of my funds saved up, then I could go to work. But
What is PRN?
PRN is it means as needed. If
Like per diem?
Per diem.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you just work when you need to. You don't have to go in every day. and-
That's the beauty of nursing. I mean, like right now, I schedule weekly. I just texted my schedule the other day, and I'm like, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, they want me at the VA. I mean, if I want to take a week off, I can take a week off.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Has that become more flexible as the pandemic's gone?
Absolutely.
Really?
The demand for nurses and CNAs has skyrocketed because less and less people want to be nurses,
Right.
and more people are getting older. The what do you call it? The age that people pass away is everybody's lifespan is increasing as technology gets better, and so
The life expectancy.
it's increased a lot, and it's going to keep increasing. But nobody wants to be a nurse or a CNA after COVID happened, so there's less and less people becoming. Going into the healthcare field, so the demand is sky high. I mean, if you need a shift, you can find one any day, night or day.
Wow.
Yeah, I can tell you, I recently took my son into the emergency room, which I've got little kids. It's like a monthly thing nowadays, but
Yeah.
Call to the poison control.
yeah.
Or,
So
Yeah.
so I take him in, and he's got two nurses there working on him, and I said, these ladies are pretty cool, huh? How they're helping you, and because they'd given him an IV, and I said, do you want to do that when you grow up? And both of them said no. And I was like, yeah, probably the last couple of years, especially. And they said, oh yeah. So how, like, you're into this obviously, but do you still love what you do, or do you love what you do, or is it been?
That's an interesting question. 'Cause
Yeah.
At first I hated it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I
Like,
hated it. I think
right out of the program.
right out of the program.
Uh-huh.
There are some things I liked, but I hated it. And I think it mostly has to do with less the profession itself and more my age and inexperience.
Right.
But I didn't like it. I took many shifts, and working here in Utah to finally become comfortable working. What I actually did was I would work on call shifts for an agency, which I'm still a part of. For like a week straight, I'd pick up 7 on-call shifts, which means when they call you in, they can send you to any of these facilities that they're contracted with.
Right.
So you don't know what you're going into. You don't know
Where
the
it's at.
residents, where it's at. You just know it's in Salt Lake area. And that, I was like, if I'm going to learn to run before I walk, I'm just going to like jump right into the water.
Right.
All the way in.
Because the expectation would be you're showing up at a place that frankly you're not even familiar with, and you're
No.
going to have to be able to be
And it was either
fully
swim or
functional.
drown. Swim or drown.
Swim or drown.
Right. And so I thought if I did that for a couple weeks, I would be ready. You know,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have work anxiety anymore. I would be able to do it. And that was my logic, and it worked. Mm-hmm. Now I've been to every Avalon facility pretty much in Salt Lake area,
Yeah.
and I've learned a lot about what the healthcare field means. A lot about insurance. I hate insurance
Insurance is a nightmare for everyone,
for everyone
except for the stockholders.
except for
I think.
stockholders.
And the U.S. government.
Yeah, and the U.S. government. Whoever's benefiting financially, it's pretty cool. But
But I mean, yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, at 19 years old, I had my own apartment.
Yeah.
I never thought that I would have that, and I was making more money than I'd ever made before.
Right.
And so I didn't know what to do with it.
right.
I mean, it's been interesting, but I'm really glad that I did it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I'm a nurse.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
that's great. That's great.
love
That, I mean, especially because, like, I mean, I don't know what your experience has been, but the impression that we've been getting is it got pretty crazy there a couple times. Like, hospitals were really full of people. They were short on nurses because nurses didn't want to work, or there just weren't enough, or whatever reason,
Yeah.
Did you get involved in that at all? Were there times where you're like working crazy hours, or
Yeah,
like,
my side of the equation was I've actually never worked at a hospital setting.
Oh, okay.
I've only ever worked at psych wards, nursing homes, and rehabilitation and anything in that area. So the most I have dealing with hospitals is calling back and forth between hospitals when we send somebody out because they are diagnosed with COVID.
Right. So you managed to dodge the worst of that.
I
guess
dodged the worst of it.
Yeah.
Because I never worked in a hospital,
Yeah.
and I was kind of in school at the time. So
Yeah.
when if I did work an odd shift, it would just, the worst I had to deal with COVID was sending someone out to the hospital,
Right.
protecting myself, and putting on all the goddamn PPE.
And you had to wear
Yeah.
like full suit, get up, like
At the beginning,
head mask and everything,
before
gloves.
people had the vaccines and before that even came out, it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
You're like drowning, and I hated it.
that's what's been really funny, I think, is that's how it was at the beginning. Like I would go to like urgent care, and it was like, sit way over here, don't like breathe, put your mask on,
it's
put gloves
hot,
on.
It's awkward.
Yeah.
It's clunky.
And now you go in and everyone like doesn't care at all. Like I was saying, I took my son in the emergency room. They didn't even ask us about COVID. They didn't test us, anything.
Yeah.
Like it
The masks are below the nose.
Yeah. It's been a big change for sure. But
Well, I think the biggest eye opener nursing ever gave to me was the money that's involved. Not for me, for the corporations, and
Oh yeah.
the I would say not the ethics involved. I mean, for some people, I mean, I hate to say it, but for some people, for COVID was actually an opportunity to make money.
A lot of money.
And a lot of money. Astronomical for some. And when I saw that side of the things, I was conflicted. I was confused. I mean, there was this one facility I worked at. Luckily, I wasn't here when they were doing this, but they were actually admitting patients with COVID-19 so that they could, even though the patients were dying, the hospital beds were filling up, and they were eagerly like, we'll take them, because if they take them, guess what happens? They get paid.
Yep.
Cha-ching. Even though they were dying sometimes within 24 hours of being admitted to this facility, they were getting paid. And so, when I hear that side of things, I'm like, where is the respect for human life?
Right.
Well, I get that hospital beds need to be opened up, but there was like, in this facility, they were eager to take them because of that exact reason.
well, and to go on that point, because I've talked about that before, but you can actually get on, I can't remember what government website, but essentially if you type into Google, does the U.S. government pay for COVID treatment? The site that comes up is like us.something.gov, and it says right on there, the U.S. government will provide all testing, treatment, blah, blah, blah. And if your healthcare provider or insurance doesn't cover it, talk to them about how you can get reimbursed through the U.S. government.
Right.
It pretty much like anything COVID, the government is paying for. So how is there not an incentive to do that? Like,
And I'm sure
just like what you're saying.
And when you're part of it, you can't help but ask the question, where do I stand in this? Am I perpetuating something here just by taking a job here?
Right.
But then the other side of you, you're like, there's people that I'm trying to help that need my help, that need the extra help. And it's a dilemma. It's an ethical dilemma for yourself and for the corporation.
Well, and the saddest part is, and I'm presuming this, when tragedy happens, somebody's going to benefit from it. That's pretty natural.
Right.
Like, it's going to happen. But the people who should have really benefited are people like you. People who had to put on all this stupid gear every day and do all this extra stuff. But the people who really benefited are the people like the owners and the stockholders and shareholders. Those people are making all the money.
Who own the facility,
right?
They sit back and they're seeing all the income.
Collect all that money.
Right.
Why didn't we see like 100% increase in healthcare worker
Salary,
pay,
right.
like during this time? Like, there certainly was the money for it.
I mean, there definitely were COVID bonuses, and like some people, I mean, they would get. They were like, you pick up a COVID shift, it's $6 more an hour if you pick up this COVID shift, or stuff like that. But
you know what I think, and this is just assumption on that, but I bet you the reason why that existed was not to pay you more because
It
of what
wasn't.
you're
It
going
was to
through.
fill the spot.
It's
Nobody-
because you're freaking desperate and you're going to
Yeah.
do anything.
It wasn't
to get
out of
someone in
gratitude. It
there.
was out of desperation.
Right.
Yeah.
We need to fill
I
this
mean,
spot.
even right now, even though the COVID is not in full swing, I still see bonuses where they're like, please, we need somebody tonight, 6 p.m.
Right.
to 6 a.m. They'll throw a random number that maybe like a $300 bonus. Like, we are desperate. We
Dude,
need somebody.
do you jump on those like every time?
Not every time.
As much as you can?
But when I there was this one week where I did do that. I worked 7 days straight, and I didn't even have a shift scheduled. I'd just wait, and I would pick one up.
If I was in your position, I would be like the nursing program whore. Like, I would just go anywhere that there was more money. Like, oh, $300 bonus over there. Okay, I suddenly became available.
I mean, it is crazy. LPNs, they don't make as much as RNs do. But because of COVID and because of the desperation, I'm getting as much as an RN would starting.
Right.
And normally it would take years of experience to get to that point, but COVID jump-started that for me.
Wow.
Because they're just desperate for workers, and so they offer it, and I'm just like, all right, I guess I'll take it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, my mom's a nurse, and she was working at a care facility, like an old folks home, and she hated it, and she left, and that place was calling her like every other day. Can you come back and fill this shift? And she'd go and fill a shift like every once in a while, but it was like 6 months.
I don't envy
of
the
her,
schedulers.
It was like 6 months later of her being like, no, I don't want to come back there anymore. No, I don't want to come back there anymore. And they were still calling her.
Right.
Like, it just... It's crazy. Like, it's a crazy environment to work in. But and when you're saying like, oh, $6 more an hour, like, that's good. But
I mean, sometimes I see it though, and you're just so tired. You're like, I don't even care.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I-
Where's the quality of life of that?
Right.
I mean, like, I don't care how much money it is if you got bags under your eyes, and
Yeah.
that's affecting your health. I mean, I've gotten, I actually got COVID because I was working too much,
Right.
and I chalk it up to my immune system being lowered.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's
well, and it absolutely would be. You're not getting sleep. You got high stress.
Right, so you have to have a work-life balance. Even though it's, I'm just glad that I wasn't working as much as the people like in New York City during the thick of it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I moved right when the pandemic happened. I mean,
Yeah.
I moved over the summer, and but yeah, I mean, I don't envy those nurses.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's a crazy time to be a nurse. It's a crazy time to be alive, and it's a crazy time to
be crazy.
be crazy.
Be crazy.
Well, I like every single guest we ever have. I feel like we just scratched the surface. And is there any messages or any stories or anything you really wanted to get out when you came here?
It was mostly that.
That one guy drank a lot of water. No.
That didn't even cross our mind until you brought that up. It was mostly that if you see an opportunity, that's what you should be chasing. Some people they want to chase their dreams or whatever, and that's great. That's great. But
Right.
look at opportunities first, and if an opportunity comes your way, chase that first so that it can enable you to chase your dreams. And I feel like that's kind of what nursing did for me. I'm just glad that I found that I actually love nursing, and I want to continue nursing and actually finish and get my RN and maybe specialize in something. But right now, at 20 years old, I mean, I could go do whatever I wanted because I have the ability and the income to make that come true. And I just think that if everyone could do that, I think people might be a lot happier.
It has to be a good a success story for like in-school trade programs too.
In-school trade programs.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how much a welder makes? I mean, if you had welding program in school, you become a welder right when you get out. Then you're enabled.
$70,000 a year, easy.
Right. You're
Yeah.
enabled to chase whatever dream you want. There's some people that are like, no, you go to the fancy college, high school, like Staten Island Tech, Brooklyn Tech. Those are the ones I was looking at. Get that diploma. Go to school.
Yeah.
Go into debt.
Right.
And then what have you got after that? I mean, I feel like job first, okay, trade first.
That's so interesting and profound because, like you said, I love how you said it too. Chase your dreams, obviously, but if an opportunity is there, like, take the
don't discount
opportunity.
that. I mean, exactly.
Like, I know so many, we're in the construction industry, Phil and I know so many people that have had an opportunity to learn how to be an electrician or a plumber or something like that. This guy
But
is
it's not
willing to
what they
take them
wanted.
under the wing, but they wanted to be a, I don't know, inspirational interpretive dancer or something. And it's like, you know what? If you were a really good plumber, you could do that all the time. I made that up. That's a joke. But
No,
you get the
yeah,
idea.
yeah.
Like, if you were a plumber that made, a lot of money, because they make a lot of money these days, especially.
Yes, they do.
You would have all kinds of time, energy. You could buy a studio to do your inspirational dancing and live your dreams
Right.
because of this opportunity you took.
Yeah, you just don't be afraid. You see the opportunity, take it.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going to go wrong? I mean, especially if it's a good one.
Yeah.
Some of them are just no-brainers. But like, there's all these kids nowadays that they all have that dream. Like, I want to be a YouTuber, and I'm like, that's great, but get a job first.
So that.
And then try that on the side. If it takes off, great. If it doesn't, that's not the only thing holding you up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be a YouTuber for 7 years and then be like, maybe I should move out of my parents' house now.
Right.
That's probably not a good plan.
No, it's not.
I never even thought about that. Like when we were growing up, kids would be like, I'm going to be an NBA player. And now kids are probably like, I'm going to be an influencer.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a YouTuber or TikTok famous or
I mean,
other
when you're a
things.
kid, you don't know what you want. When I was 14, if I could talk to myself now, I'd be like, yeah, I mean, I had doubts. When I was in senior year, there was a time I wanted to quit. And I told my friends, I was like, you know what, like, I'm in musical theater, I'm doing swim team, this is a lot.
Right.
You know, I am stressed, I don't know if I want to do this, and they wouldn't let me quit.
Wow.
You know, and it just makes me think, though, like, all these kids in high school, they don't know what they want. No, I didn't know what I wanted. And it's like, it's only after the fact that you think back, well, if only I had done this. That's why I'm grateful for good teachers who actually direct you appropriately and show you the opportunities and what could be.
Yeah. I really wish I had good friends growing up. Is
Too
that right,
bad.
Phil?
Too bad for you.
I just wish I had one good friend.
Too bad.
As you're right here next to your friend.
Of 20 plus years. That's great. Well, like I was saying, I've said this so many times. I know we all have, but I feel like we just scratched the surface with you and talking about all the things you have to offer. Because I know there's other things you performed on Broadway. See, he laughs like that.
That was a time.
Growing up in New York, we could probably talk for an hour just on
I
that.
bet we could. Maybe another time.
Unfortunately, no, I'm just kidding. We're running tight on time, but I really,
Okay, thanks for the opportunity.
yeah, I
Appreciate
love it, and we'll have you back if you're willing.
I'd love to.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for
thank you
coming
very
on.
much.
It's been fun.
Yeah. Well, good night, humans.
Good night,
night,
humans.
humans.
And
Good morning.
Give us money on Patreon. And
Make it so our wives let us keep doing this,
keep
please.
listening.